Radio V. Radio in TV. Radio in TV.
He's absolutely Jason, he's absolutely gay. He'll absolutely brighten up the darkest rainy day. He's funny and loves movies, he's smart and he's a Jew. He's an actor and an activist and wants to hear from you.
Hey everybody, welcome to Absolutely Jason Stuart. I'm really excited today because I have one of my dear friends on, one of my new dear friends, because we've only known each other a couple of years. We met at the Screen Actors Guild after when she became a part of the LGBT Actors Committee, which is now the SAG-AFTRA LGBT Committee, because we involve all sorts of people. Everybody that's in the union can be in the committee, and you're our token straight person.
Token. For the first time, it's the first time in my life I've been a token. Anything.
It's because you have a gay son that came out.
I do, and I wanted to be. He's not a part of SAG yet, but he's a stand-up and an
performance
actor,
artist,
young actor in New York, and he's performing all over the city. He does shows all the time.
Isn't that wonderful?
And he
What's
just
his
studied
name?
with Bill Esper. Joe Baker.
Joe
he graduated from NYU a few years ago, but he was in the Gallatin program, and he was doing acting, and he was also studying psychology, and so now he's performing everywhere.
And your beginnings was in New York.
Yes, I started in New York.
Now,
my first show was Gypsy with Angela Lansbury.
Oh my God, are you kidding me?
No, it's how I got my card from Arthur Lawrence.
I did not know that.
Oh my God, my first show was Arthur Lawrence and Stephen Sondheim and Julie Stein. They were all there and getting to watch Angela Lansbury on the road for 6 months, and I was understudying Gypsy, and terrified that I would go on. And I told Zan Charisse was the girl I was understudying, and I think she just hated me. She didn't understand why I was standing backstage all the time watching her like a hawk. I think she thought that I was just sort of some sort of.
She didn't know you were the understudy?
Well, she did, but I think she thought that I was just some horrible Eve Harrington type. What I actually really was terrified that I would have to go on and not be prepared. I was having those nightmares every night. So we went to Toronto first. We were there for a month, and I was just watching all the time because she had really fast changes at the end of the show.
Right.
You know, when she's changing in those gypsy things, when she has to go Minsky's and da-da-da from one, it was really fast changes. And through the whole show, she had a lot of fast changes. And I was really worried that something would happen. I'd have to go on. I wouldn't be ready. So I'm backstage watching, and I think she just was like, "Get this girl out of here." And so I think that was terrible. I subsequently then understudied for 11 months, and I was the only understudy that never went on, which was really.
But you made
bummer.
a big career of understudying in New York. Am I correct?
I initially did.
Yeah, that's how you broke into Broadway.
Horrible job. I did that but I have to say that even though I understudied, I had a lot of little parts. I was the Chinese waitress, and so I had this thing where I watched across the stage, and when Angie stole the silverware, I had this great double take that I would do walking across the stage, and that and the Hollywood Blondes, and I was almost naked as a showgirl at Minsky's, and I played a lot of other parts. So Elaine Brody, who I don't know if you worked in New York at the time.
I've heard of her.
She was the casting director at Benton and Bowles, and so she came back and found me and started putting me in commercials. And so, of course, if you have an advertising executive who's putting it's very easy to find an agent. So I then was able to get commercial agents, and she started me doing commercials in New York.
And you were the understudy for the play Vanities.
Yes, well,
which was
that
a
was
very,
because,
very big play in the 70s. Am I correct?
Well, yeah, and I got that because I went to college at SMU. With
Tell
Jack.
everybody who was in the play.
Well, I went to college with Jack Hefner, who wrote Vanities, and Kathy Bates, who played sort of the best written role, Joanne, which was the role I at least thought I would ever go on for, because Kathy was getting these incredible rave reviews for the
And who else
play.
was in it with you?
And Jane Galloway and Susan Merson, and the three of them were just fantastic. And I was understudying all three. So again, terrified that I would have to go on.
And who did you wind up going on for?
Well, I'm behind for the first 6 weeks of the show. I would stand behind the curtain where the audience was, and I would kind of silently, walk through one role. And I spent 2 weeks on one, and then I spent 2 weeks on the next, and I spent 2
you
weeks.
basically, it's a three-person play, and you had to learn
everything.
the entire play.
They were on stage all the time for the 2 intermissions. They had choreographed, they their changes of clothes, poses in their booths, how they moved the furniture. They were the entire time, even during the intermissions, they had their things that they had to do. So I had to learn all of those things, changing their wigs, changing their clothes,
Because
everything.
let people know that the whole play was about 3 generations of these 3
Started
best-
off as cheerleaders in Texas,
And-
which is of course my background to most of through high school anyway, and cheerleaders in Texas, and then the second act they're in their sorority, which is really my background. I went to SMU too, and then the last act they're many years later, they have a kind of very ugly confrontation. As friends in New York. One of them owns an art gallery. One of them's married and has children, and the other one, which is the apartment where they gather, is there's
Turns out to be a lesbian. One
yes,
of them.
yeah, you find that out.
And who did you
eventually.
wind up playing when you went on?
Well, that was the thing. I didn't think it would be Joanne, who is kind of the dumb one, who is the one who eventually ends up married with children. That was the one that I had the least in common with at the time. I thought, oh, I'll be Mary, who has the wild one, who has the art gallery later, or I'll be, Jane, who's the stable one, who's the. Yeah, I just never thought that. Particularly because Kathy was getting so much
Kathy
attention.
Bates was so.
Yeah, and I thought she's never going to miss a performance. I mean, she's getting all
So
the attention.
she missed one.
Well, yeah, she got a cold or something, and I wasn't ready to go on for her. I was really not ready to go on.
And what happened?
And we got a call one day, and everybody, the other girls were really angry with her, and very angry. And we rehearsed very quickly that afternoon, and it was evident that I was flailing. I mean, I was just like, oh my God, am I going to know the next line? And those girls pulled me through that performance.
Isn't that wonderful?
It was fantastic, but because they'd already been doing it for a year off Broadway before they came to Broadway.
How did they pull you? How did that go?
Do you know how when you're so connected with the other actor and they're literally telepathically
because when you told me this whole story, we were
you.
driving to
Yeah.
Night of 100 Stars for the Oscar party, which you let me be your date for, which was so
It was
wonderful.
fun. Yeah.
We had a great
and
time.
you knew everyone there.
I
swear to
did,
God.
didn't I?
You know,
because I didn't think I was going to know
I was
everybody.
so impressed. I didn't know anybody. I was like,
You
Jason,
did
you introduced me
too.
to everybody in the room.
You did too.
You did.
No, but I thought it was when you told me the story. I thought, man, I don't think I could have done it. It was just so frightening. And
It was terrifying, and it's a very small house. It's the Chelsea Playhouse, which is still there, at Chelsea West Side Playhouse.
do you miss doing theater?
I do, but I went back to doing it after my kids went to college. So I have an apartment in New York now, and that's why I go to national board meetings from SAG-AFTRA.
You have an apartment in New York?
In
You
New
shouldn't have told me
York.
that.
You didn't know that? I didn't.
No,
tell
no.
you.
Well, now I know.
Oh yeah, I live both places.
No, I know.
I go to both places, and
No,
I
I
started.
know.
I went without doing theater for like 20-some years. So going back to doing it again was really terrifying.
So when you got
but
home
we're
and-
going off topic. I did finish this story.
Oh.
because the good part of
I'm
the
sorry.
story was that it was an incredibly good show.
Oh, it was a great play.
I mean, that night, because you know how when you're so in the moment because you can't afford to think about, oh my God, did I not get that laugh I should have gotten 2 seconds ago? You can't afford to think about that.
no.
All you're thinking about is, whoa, what is happening right now?
Where do I have to be?
I
What do I
can't
have to
afford
say?
to think about what is the next line, two lines from now, or what happened just a minute. The three of us were so connected to each other. They were so generous, and we were just so connected, and the audience was on the floor laughing. And so actually it was great for me because when they would laugh, I'd have a moment to be kind of like, breathe. And so we got through that show. We got backstage. We were jumping up and down for joy. We were so excited. We were all so happy that it was such a good show. And then someone came backstage with a program, and they said, there's some people out there that want to talk to you, Pat. And I was like, what? I didn't have anyone come. I was sure it was going to be horrible. So
Right. Why would you do
I had
that?
an agent,
I would
but I
be-
said, don't come. And so I was, what? So I go out there, and there are these guys. And it was Michael Eisner, who at the time was vice president or president of Paramount or something, and Bob Boyette, who later went on to work at ABC, and somebody from ICM. And they had been sent by Pam, what's big casting person, Dixon, to see Kathy.
She was the first person at ABC I ever met.
And he wrote me this note that I, of course, still have. We love you. We want to create a series for you. We blah 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 blah. You know, you're just fantastic. You know, blah blah. We just think you're fantastic, and da 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 da. Which ruined the entire night. I mean, everything went crashing to the ground.
Why?
Because how do you think Jane Galloway and Susan Merson felt after doing this show for a year and a half? And I come waltzing in, and I had no idea, by the way, what I did that night. I really didn't. I mean, whether I was doing myself or Kathy or my sister Kathy, who this character has a lot in common with, I have no idea what I did. I was stunned. I was.
That's always
I kept
hard.
saying to them, but I what? And I had to go backstage, and they said, well, what was that about? And then Kathy called. But meanwhile, Garland Wright, who was our director, who went to SMU with all of us, or with Kathy and me, comes back, and he's there, and he's like, Kathy's calling on the payphone backstage to find out how it went, and Garland Wright comes back and makes this edict that no one could tell Kathy what has just happened. Because he's afraid, she's very upset that she's gotten nothing out of this whole night. She's very upset that so far...
The whole production,
she'd gotten all these reviews, and so far she hadn't gotten any jobs out of it. She's very upset about it. And Garland's like, you can't tell Kathy. And we're like, what? And he's like, no, she'll be so upset she won't be able to do the show. You can't tell her. Nobody can tell her. So Susan and Jane were furious because they were, how are we going to work with her and not tell her this? And I'm like, oh, what do you mean? I had to go talk to her on the phone. I can't, what? So Garland's standing there, and he's like, no, you can't tell. So I go back and get on the phone, and I'm like, and Kathy's like, how did it go? And I'm like, oh, it went really well. And she's like, no, really, really. And I went, no, it was fine. Don't worry about it. It really was fine. We had a blast. It was a great show. And I don't know what to do. So a couple of weeks go by, and Susan and Jane are very upset. And we're all like, what do we do? What do we do? And Garland is insisting nobody tell Kathy. And then Susan told Kathy before the 2 shows Saturday night. And then she cried all through both shows and the Sunday matinee. And as it all kind of came out in the wash, Pam made sure that Kathy got to meet everybody. Kathy did the pilot of Vanities. When they did it, Kathy did it.
Oh,
I
wonderful.
ended up with a holding contract that led nowhere.
And it certainly has not hurt Kathy's career anywhere.
No, not
Oscars,
at all.
Emmys.
And Michael Eisner and Bob Boyett both left ABC 3 months into my contract. They left. I mean, Paramount.
Well, we're going to come back.
ABC.
We're going to take a break. We're going to come back and
So
talk
nothing
about Home
happened.
Improvement.
I got nothing out of it. She got Vanities out of it, and I just got a little money.
Well, we're going to take a break, and we're going to be right back with Patricia Richardson and talk about Home Improvement and how that happened. We'll be back in just a minute. Don't change that channel.
Well, I told that story.
Well, we're going to take a break, and we're going to be right back with Patricia Richardson and talk about Home Improvement and how that happened. We'll be back in just a minute. Don't change that channel.
Hey, my fellow thoughters out there. I'm Charles Shaughnessy. Check out my new show, Here's a Thought, with Charles Shaughnessy, August the 7th, 3 p.m. PST, right here on T-Radio V. Now, you know I have a lot to say, but I want to hear what you have to say. So tune in, grab your phones, call me, tweet me, email me in the studio, and let's get this conversation going. Here's a Thought, starting August the 7th, 3 p.m. PST, right here on T-Radio V. That's radio in TV.
Andy D on T-Radio V. Bing, bang, bing, boom, right?
Yeah.
Andy D on T-Radio V. Bobbity, bibbity, bobbity, boo. Andy D on T-Radio V.
The Andy Dick Show, Wednesdays from 4 to 6 p.m. on T-Radio V.
Wow!
But we'll do it. We'll do it better when the show actually starts.
Hi, I'm Valerie Landsberg, and most people know me as Doris from the television series Fame. You're watching Absolutely Jason Stewart on T-Radio V. You're watching Jason Stewart on TV Radio V. Fame.
Should we jump in there at the last one? Hey, hello, this is David Faustino, and you are watching T-Radio V. Do you see what I'm saying? It's television crossed with radio. It's all together. It's weird. Radio's in the middle of it. It's amazing. You're watching it. Go.
Love and marriage, love and marriage.
But do it again. My lips just ache to have you take the kiss that's waiting for you. You know if you do, you won't regret it.
I should take this off. I'm not reading it.
Come and
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Absolutely Jason Stewart. I was just looking up at the screen because Jake was so great in putting up my next gig that I'm doing at RJ's Comedy Club
Come
in
to one
Valencia.
of your gigs. I'm missing them all.
Well, what are you doing tonight? I'm going to be at the Laugh Factory
I'm
in Long
playing
Beach.
poker at Norby Walters,
Okay.
which is a great game. You know, you get to play with old Hollywood and new Hollywood. And I mean, I played once with Sid Caesar and Angie Dickinson and all these amazing people. I don't know who's playing tonight.
Oh, my God.
I'm not sure who's
Well,
playing.
tonight I will be, for those here in Los Angeles, I'll be at the Long Beach Laugh Factory at 8 o'clock. And then Friday and Saturday, I'll be at RJ's Comedy Club in Valencia. Please come and see me. That's at 9 o'clock. If you forget any of this, just go to jasonstewart.com, STUART. And let's get back to Patricia Richardson. And you told me so many great things in the car because we had this long drive. And I'm always interested in how someone gets a series. And because the series was so iconic. I mean, you were on it for...
That was actually my fourth series.
But this was a series that really just...
The Home Improvement, yeah.
Yeah, it just moved you into a complete different area of your life. You had a contract with ABC, and they kept trying to find you stuff. Am I correct?
Well, they actually had me under contract for a show called Home Movies that was supposed to be a dramedy. I'd already done a couple of sitcoms that had gone...
You did FM?
FM, Eisenhower and Lutz, and a pilot that David Frankel had done that was supposed to be such
David
an interesting...
Frankel, who directed The Devil Wears Prada.
Yeah, and it was such an interesting concept. I did that one in New York, and it was supposed to be live. It was supposed to be a live pilot that would be about the daily workings behind a sort of yellow newspaper, like a New York Post kind of thing.
You were telling me about in the car,
But
I remember.
it didn't work.
Oh, well, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
I mean, please, Home Improvement was probably one of the biggest shows on television.
Yeah, and then I did Double
for
Trouble.
8 years,
that
right?
went 13. That was Norman Lear brought me out to L.A. to do that.
Wow.
And then it died. And it was over. It didn't make it. So I went back to New York.
Was that with the Funny Boys?
That was with the girls, the twins.
Oh, the two girls.
You
Okay,
know,
because there was two ones that had a similar name.
The Seagal twins.
Yes.
And they were so cute. But it died. And so I went back to New York. I was doing a play off Broadway that was very successful. And then all of a sudden they reran it in the summer. And my contract was out. They reran it in the summer.
And you were pregnant, right?
No, not yet. And they ran that in the summer. It was hugely successful. All of a sudden in reruns. And then they came back to me and they said, well, we want to re-sign you for a new contract. But I was doing the Miss Firecracker contest with Holly Hunter.
Oh, that's the Beth Henley
in New
play.
York. Yes, and we were in
Man.
this little theater, Manhattan Theater Club. They were going to move it, and it was a huge success.
It's a
and I wanted
beautiful
to
play.
stay with the play. It was a wonderful play.
Who did you
And
play
I
in
was
it?
like, I played Elaine, the
Which was the
ex-beauty
role
queen
that
Mary Steenburgen
did in the film.
Oh, that's another story. But anyway, so I wanted to just keep doing the play. So they kept saying, how much money do you want? And I was like, don't talk about money. I just want to keep doing this play. And Brandon Tartikoff was head of the network then.
You know, you can talk slower and it's okay.
I have so much information to get in. Anyway, I said no, and that my agent even at the time.
You said no to Home Improvement.
I said no to this one too. That's why they believed me when I
Wow.
said no to Home Improvement. They just kept. My agent even at one point said.
So the power of saying
really,
no.
how much money do you want? And I said I really want to do this play. I saved some money already doing Double Trouble before. My husband and I have saved, I don't know, such and such. We can live on that for a while, and we really want to stay in New York, and I really want to do this play for a while. No, they couldn't believe it, and so.
Well, Beth Henley, who wrote Crimes of the Heart, is one of the most brilliant American writers.
Absolutely, she had already won the Pulitzer Prize for Crimes
And
of the
the
Heart,
Tony.
which my husband had done. He created the part of oh gosh, what's the name of it? Doc in Crimes of the Heart.
Which
He'd
was
already
played
done
by
that.
Sam Shepard in the film.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We keep not getting to do the films that
Well, the
we
big
create the parts. I
stars.
created 2 parts in 2 of her plays. Ray
I bet
created
now
2
you would
parts in
be
2
more
of her
likely
plays.
to get it. I think in those days people didn't get the parts as much.
No, not unless they were already a big star. And when they
Right.
did the film, my friend Christine Lottie, who auditioned for the parts that I played in both of those plays, because I also created a part in The Wake of Jamie Foster, she bought the rights to the Miss Firecracker contest so that her husband Tommy, who I introduced the 2 of them, so that she could play my part. And
But
and
Mary
then-
Steenburgen
and then
had just
she
won an
got- And she
Oscar.
got pregnant and couldn't do the part.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So she was really. They had bought it so that he could direct it and she could do it, and then she couldn't do it, and so they thought it should be an industry name. and so Mary.
But
got
she had
to do
just
it.
won the Oscar a couple years back.
She had gotten an
She
Oscar.
was very big then.
She was yeah. So Mary did it, and Mary was wonderful.
Oh.
Just great. So but that was kind of.
But how did Home Improvement come about?
Well, then by this point, I'd done a bunch of series that had been admired, I think, within the industry, but had not, like the, let me see, Eisenhower and Lutz
You said, yeah.
died when the writer's strike happened. FM really did better in the slot after Cheers, but the Wings people, the writers, had a deal. They were the same writers as the writers from Cheers, and they had a deal to get that slot after.
So Tim Allen was this sort of...
So anyway, we lost that one. So then I sort of, I was signed up to do this thing, home movies, and we were supposed to do it with Danny Stern, who's a friend. And I was so excited that it was a dramedy. I'd given birth to my twins. I was, I'd been in bed for 5 months with this pregnancy, and then it had 3 months of twins with colic. So it was great that they were not going to start for another 6 months. So I had 6 months to deal with recovering from this pregnancy, and I was nursing twins.
And you had a little Buffonti hairdo.
Oh, I was kind of a wreck, and so I was really happy that I would do this dramedy where it wouldn't be a sitcom. It's very difficult, you know that.
Oh, it's much harder.
So hard.
It's all about the
laughs.
laughs.
So I thought, oh, good, I have 6 months. I can lose the weight. I can recover, and they were going to shoot it very close to where I lived, and it's perfect. And so I'm very happy about this job. And then Danny dropped out because he was doing films or something. And so then they decided they would put in Paul Reiser. So it was going to be me and Paul Reiser playing the parents in this show. And then Paul had this movie Cadillac Man come out. And he was like, no, I think I have a film career. So he dropped out. And so then, and it was the creators that had done Wonder Years. They were the ones that wrote it. And so then we were looking for, and then I auditioned with, I'm having a blank. Another actor that they put in another series. I won't say who. And then that didn't work out. So now I'm still husbandless for this show. And one day they called in. They said, "We've decided not to do that show, home movies. We've canceled it. We're not going to do it anymore." Although I was under a holding deal for that. And they said, "But if you go in tomorrow for this show that we're doing with a stand-up that just won the ACE Award on Showtime, Tim Allen," I was like, who's he? If you
Right,
do
who's
that,
this guy?
nobody ever heard of him, except for this Showtime special.
Well, he also was in my world. He was very well known.
I didn't know stand-up
Yeah,
people.
in the stand-up world, he was very well known, and he had been known for this bit that he would do about tools. And my best friend Sheila Kay had also been a really good friend with his in Detroit, so that's also why I knew him. And she had visited.
So you knew him then?
Oh yeah, and I had met him several times.
Did you work in the same clubs? Or?
I don't think. I think I worked with him at Igby's Comedy Club occasionally in the day.
Oh, he was very funny.
Oh, hysterically funny, and he had his own thing. I didn't understand it because I don't understand.
Because you're not
tools.
a tool guy, right?
No.
Yeah.
And it became this whole thing, and then he did the thing called the 5 o'clock Funnies.
What's that?
Here in Los Angeles, which is a radio show where they play his stuff, and that's how he became so well known here in Los Angeles.
From the 5 o'clock Funnies?
Yeah, isn't that weird? And that's what I had heard.
Well, that's what they said to me. I mean, they call me, they go, and I say, no, I couldn't possibly. I'm nursing twins. I am producing a half-gallon milk a day.
And they didn't care. They wanted you.
I know. I have to leave every 40 minutes. It takes like 40 minutes every 2 hours.
Let's show a little clip from Home Improvement.
Oh.
And this is the one with you and it's called the silk pajamas, and you're in bed. I don't know if
Oh,
you're
no. Are you going to...
Oh, you got something else?
No, are you going to run the other one?
Oh, he's going to run something.
I think he's...
Jake, he's excellent.
Wilson?
Now, I hope I'm not disturbing you, my nasally challenged neighbor Ed, but I brought you a home remedy for
The most
your
famous
cold.
guy in television who doesn't have a face.
Thank you. Come on in.
That's hysterical.
Why are you wearing the mask?
Well, Jill, I didn't want to get any of your germs because I'm on my way down to the birthing center. I'm their substitute midwife.
Was he not allowed to show
Wilson,
himself to
you
anybody
are
who was under his
amazing.
contract?
Whoa, this smells strong.
Yes, that's my own special blend of
You can talk.
lemon, honey, oak
Yes, he
barrel
loved it.
Scotch whiskey.
I mean, he
Some
loved
people
that
say it
deal.
is the
I did direct
quintessential
a show once
hot
with
toddy.
him doing that.
Wow.
So where's Tim?
Well, he's with a little hot toddy of his own.
Oh, that voluptuous young lady that's been following him around. That type does nothing for me.
Well, she keeps telling him how great he is, and he's turning into Tim the Drool Man.
Well, Jill, as the French say, there is nothing so silly as the expression of a man.
4 Emmy nominations for this
complimented by a
role.
woman.
Yeah.
Well, what do the French
And I
say with a
think
couple
just
that's
as
sort of
many
something more
other
serious?
nominations. and
I believe
other
that term would be
awards.
ooh
Just
la
too
la.
Well, said you should have seen the way they were acting around each other.
I
You
really
don't look a
wouldn't be
bit
concerned
different.
about it, Jill. Probably it's just their pheromones at work.
So not cool.
Pheromones, what's that?
They're chemical signals which are picked up by a sense organ in the nose. Many times it can indicate a physical attraction.
And I'm not supposed to be concerned?
You and Tim share something much bigger.
A mortgage?
No, endorphins. They're the chemicals that make you feel needed and loved.
So you think that Tim's endorphins are stronger than his pheromones?
Well, knowing Tim as I do, I'm sure they are.
Oh, Wilson, thank you so much. Just listening to you talk about Tim's making my endorphins kick in.
Actually, Jill, that may not be the endorphins. It's probably the booze and the hot toddy.
That was, you know what's so funny is watching you work on the show for me is so amazing because there's such a relaxedness about your work on this show. And the comedy timing is so amazing. It was just so amazing to me how your work on the show. It doesn't surprise me that you were nominated for 4 Emmys. It doesn't surprise me you were nominated for 2 Golden Globes and 2 People's Choice Awards and everything else that you could get for that. And the TV Land gave you guys a big award recently.
I don't think I got 2 People's Choice Award nominations.
No, you didn't? It wasn't
No, I
2?
don't
What,
think so.
you were the show
I
was
have no
nominated
idea,
then.
but
Was
I
it
shouldn't keep
the
going.
show was
The
nominated.
show, and Tim was nominated like almost every year or something.
But still, the show was so. I think the show was nominated for 2 People's Choice.
Yeah.
I think.
And actually, I think the show got 1 Emmy nomination, and we won, of course, for lighting every year and sound and stuff. We won a lot, but it was mostly for technical awards, and we did get a lot of Emmy nominations. But it was.
What was it like working on the show?
It was fantastic.
Because you
so
also
fun.
did a lot of writing on the show also
Well,
too.
you know, it's just that they would come. Just that every story meeting was me and Tim. You know, we
which
every
people
Monday,
probably didn't know.
No, they didn't.
So you brought your own
they had no
personal
idea.
lives
Yeah.
into the show.
So the cancer episode came from me. It was based on something that happened to my son. That happened in our family with my oldest son. We had a big cancer, and I suggested it because I thought that. Goiter, the word goiter is hilarious. And, and that's what happened. We were on vacation and my son actually hurt his leg and we took him to a doctor in Hawaii for his leg. And the doctor said, your son has a goiter. And we were like, what? What? And he said, yeah, it's like a butterfly thing on the neck. And he said, look, see, when you get back home, go take him to the doctor. And so we did. We went through a long, very scary process. And then we found out that there was a history of thyroid cancer in Ray's family. And then we had a very terrible endocrinologist who took too long to get back to us and really scared us. And he had a really scary sonogram. And so we had a huge scare about it. So when they came to my house, when
so
the
it made an
writers...
incredibly wonderful episode, and you were able to turn something really sad into something really hysterically
when you're going to do
fun.
the C word, you need to make sure that if you're going to do a
Meaning
comedy,
cancer.
it needs to be something that, where you can try to draw comedy out of it. So when the writers came to my house that summer, which they used to do, and come and say, okay, what can we do? Let's talk about what the stories will be next year and what we can
happened to your
talk.
kids, basically.
And I said, look, how about doing a cancer story? And it turned out that Elliot and Marley, who used to do my stories, they'd do 4 or 5 shows a year that were
Those
Jill
are the
driven.
2 writers on the show?
They were 2 are really great writers, and they would do like 4 or 5 Jill-driven stories a year, and so they were the ones that I would generally talk to the most. And I said, what about doing? And they had already wanted to do this kind of story, and they were like, yes, this is what we're. And I said, well, why not do this? Because we can do around this, and also this is a kind of cancer that is very easy. It's relatively doesn't spread. It's a kind of cancer that can be dealt with. And so we did, and we ended up saving some lives. We had people write in that looked and discovered that they had this that hadn't looked for it before.
Wow!
And it won a Humanitas Award, that show. So that was very exciting.
You were also telling me that you came from the theater, you came from Broadway, Tim came from the stand-up comedy clubs. It was what an interesting sort of connection the two of you probably had, and how such a yin and yang. And we're going to take a break, and we're going to come back, and we're going to talk about that. I think it's just sort of fascinating. We'll be back in just a minute here with Patricia Richardson's here on Absolutely Jason Stewart. We'll be back. Stay with us. Don't change that channel.
Something to me, you send chills.
Hey, what's up? I'm Casey Abrams from American Idol. You're watching Absolutely Jason Stewart on T Radio V. It's a good take, right?
You sounded like you were completely like in a trance, like you were.
Did you feel it? Did you feel the vibes?
And what's with the fakakta hair?
You don't like
You're
it?
a Jew, are you not?
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
hey,
your mother would be
I don't
so
think
upset.
you shouldn't be taking.
I know. Look at everyone. Look at the back of this hair. Dear God, get a brush. Get a brush. I'm Jason Stewart. We're on T Radio V. TV and the radio with the hair sticking out like some sort of homeless person.
Listen, I'm sorry I have hair.
Radio V.
And it's Mary Carey, of course, politically naughty with Mary Carey.
I'm always naughty. I'm always politically. My behavior is always politically
naughty.
I'm never politically correct.
Dr.
Dr.
Drew.
Drew, hi. Oh, I'm so.
Guys, how are you?
It's all teary-eyed, Doctor.
I know. She wished she could live at rehab.
But only if Dr. Drew's there. Obviously, if someone like, because a little too groping might be inappropriate. But I like the flirting and stuff.
When I walked in, you shoved my head in your.
No! Are you gonna sue me?
Get politically naughty with Mary Carey. Mondays at 4 p.m. on T Radio V.
Andy D on T Radio V. Bing, bang, bing, boom, right?
Yeah.
Andy D on T Radio V. Bobbity, bibbity, bobbity, boo. Andy D on T Radio V.
The Andy Dick Show, Wednesdays from 4 to 6 p.m. on T Radio V.
Wow!
So
But we'll do it. We'll do it better when the show actually starts.
Yeah, no.
Hey, what's up? This is Josh Vietti, and you're watching T Radio V.
My thread.
Not a very flattering picture.
And we're back at Absolutely Jason Stewart with the absolutely beautiful Patricia Richardson, who doesn't think she looks great in every picture, which is so not true.
well.
So what was it like working with a stand-up comic and you being a theater actress and you guys melding your careers? It was probably like yin and yang, but it worked so incredibly well.
I think I maybe was the first actress to work with Tim, and they were giving him some. I got to tell you, they were giving him shit. I guess I shouldn't say that, but
You can say shit.
But I
Shit fuck, shit
thought
fuck.
he was fantastic, and I think it's a real gift for most stand-ups, and that is because they're so courageous. They're used to getting up there by themselves, no director, no writer. They produce, they do everything themselves, and it takes such guts to be a stand-up, and that's what he was like as an actor, and he was so emotionally available, and he had no idea that he had that. And we would be working together on a scene, and if I was emotional, if I was would start to cry, he would. And it confused him so much because he was so emotionally available. When those feelings would come up, it scared him. And so initially we'd be rehearsing, that would start to happen, and he'd stop everything. And he'd go, wait a minute, hold on. Wait a minute, she's upset. And John Pascoe, who was our director the whole first
Incredible
year and a half,
television director.
he'd go, Tim, she's acting. And he'd go, oh, yeah, okay. But what it was really was, I think he was scared of his own reaction.
Oh, of course.
Because I was so touched by the fact that he was that available. And that's the way he always was. He really was, you'd come right back at you. When you're in a scene with him, he listened. I can't tell you, I've been doing theater for years. 13 years of theater in New York. I mean, so many years where actors aren't even looking at you. You're doing a scene with another actor and they're looking at your ear. They're not listening. I mean, I'm guilty of that myself.
They're in their own play.
I'm so self-conscious myself. Sometimes I'm not listening to the other actor. We all are guilty of that. I had rarely worked with someone who listened so well.
Well,
and
then
and was so available.
And from that, you went to Strong Medicine with so many incredible women.
Oh, I loved doing that show.
I mean, so many incredible women.
I didn't expect to love to do that show as much as I did. I really did it because I had taken time off to be with my kids, and I didn't want to sign on to do 7 years of a series. I didn't want to be away from my kids. I got to tell you, I turned down some really good shows in that couple of periods.
Do you want to tell us anyone you turned down?
No, I will not,
Okay.
because it's really terrible to do that to the actor who ended up doing it. But I turned down some incredible things that won a lot of Emmys.
Because you work with Jennifer Lewis.
Yeah, but they came along and they said, you could do this show 4 days a week. They gave me a 4-day-a-week contract, and I what is it, 3 years, and it was an ensemble show. It had already been going on without me. I knew then, under the radar, they didn't have to do a lot of press, so I knew that I could do that show and still be with my kids, and not be taken away.
Because I
from
guested
them.
on the show, and that's when I met you.
Yeah.
And I remember you were saying, "Oh my God, I gotta go take care of my kids. Because your out time was going." And I thought, "Wow, she must really love these kids." My mother.
I had 3 kids. I'm single parenting 3 kids. And as soon as you leave and also I never had live-in help. I had this thing, and maybe it's so stupid looking back on it. I always didn't want to have live-in help because I always felt like that's another person I'll end up having to take care of. You have live-in help, and usually they're young. Then the next thing you know, you got another kid you're taking care of. Or there's somebody between you and the kids. And on
Which
weekends.
is more important.
Really. And then on weekends, it's easy to kind of fall back on you take care of them. I'm going to go do this. Or there's somebody between you and the kids. Do you know? And I didn't want that.
Well, you're very, very involved with your children.
Yeah, I wanted me to be the person that they're with, and maybe that's just stupid, but I had babysitters. It's not like it didn't have but I'd come home, they left. And the only people in the house, we didn't have live-in maid, we didn't have a live-in, it was just us. And so we had that privacy. And I just wanted to have it. I was raised in a middle-class world, and I kept trying to raise my kids with middle-class values. And so if you have a live-in maid and you have a live-in, it's really hard to kind of be a famous person and have money and still try to raise your kids with middle-class values. And I desperately kept trying to do that, probably to no avail.
Well, my favorite thing that you did probably was Yuli's Gold.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, you were nominated for
so
Best Supporting Actress for the Spirit Award. I think it was 2001 or 2 around there.
No, much later.
98.
No.
I don't know what year it was, but Jake will look it up and tell me.
96, maybe. I don't know.
Was it 96?
Yeah.
So wonderful. What was it like to work with Peter Fonda?
That was amazing. But Victor Nunez was really the incredible. Victor Nunez, I
love
think, is
him.
the only director who's won Sundance twice.
97.
Yeah. And Victor is the kindest person. You would never think that someone who directs, operates the camera, produces, and writes wouldn't be an egomaniac.
And what would make
but
you? What
he was
made
the
you,
humblest person.
What
you've
made you want to
ever-
do that show?
Oh, well, it's an incredible script. And, I had actually was cast before the part that Peter played was. So I read with a bunch of men for that part.
And you had to read for it, which is amazing.
I
to
did,
me.
but it was such a nice reading. I mean, it was just sort of meeting with him and talking with him, and it was so lovely.
I think it was a big game changer for you.
He was so just kind. And, he would listen to everybody and take input from people, but sort of do what he wanted to do in the kindest possible way. And, he doesn't work outside of Florida as a director. He kind of only does stuff where he is. So I don't know if he's done, I think he's only done 1 film since then, which is really too bad because he's an amazing,
I hate that.
amazing director.
What, do we have this little clip from Strong Medicine? Do we have the one that you wanted?
I love this clip.
This
and my
is
friend Ronit, who's the
to show you what a
supervisor,
wonderful
directed
dramatic
that
actress
episode.
that you are.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. She didn't direct this episode. It was it was our set designer directed this episode.
What makes you think you're suffering from PTSD, Andy?
Well, I haven't been sleeping well. Been feeling disconnected. I keep going backwards.
To where?
I don't know. It's just a sense.
Do you think this sense is related to your military service?
Everyone sees difficult things on the battlefield. But no, it's more of a sense of loss.
Loss of what?
I left the military. I went through a bad divorce, but I was handling it
And then I got involved with a colleague, and he was killed last month. And then I feel like I lost the army and my marriage and my lover all at once. And I'm very uncomfortable with this.
I can understand that.
Yeah. But, you know, I can't, I can't get out of that moment.
What moment?
Well, the moment when the phone rings and I find out that he's gone. And I want to save him. Because, you know, that's what I do. I save people. But I couldn't save Milo. Couldn't save him.
So simple.
I have to say, it's hard for me to watch that. We, in fact, lost Richard Biggs, who was playing my Milo on the show. He was suddenly died when we were in the middle of shooting.
Wow.
It's hard for me to watch that. I kind of watched it in a long time, and I was, you know, it was really horrible. He had 2 young kids. He literally had a sudden heart attack, and we were in the middle of a shooting. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that.
No, it's a friend. It's a
It
colleague.
was really difficult. Yeah. So we that was when we had to suddenly write his death into the show, and it was hard for all of us. It was really hard for me.
Why don't we take a break?
Sorry, I'm so sorry.
No, that's okay. We'll take a break and we'll be back in just a second
didn't
here
see that coming. I'm
with
sorry.
Patricia Richardson here on Absolutely Jason Stewart. Please stay with us. We'll be back in just a moment.
Brad is actually here right now.
I don't have the white disease.
Whoa! Give me a gift. I want to see some tiny intro. Give me some boom. Give me some boom, bro. This is gonna make us money.
Ask Robert who his favorite celebrity animals are.
His animal lovers.
All right, everybody, whip your out. Everybody, whip it out. We'll be right back.
See, now it's...
Let's do a couple things. Ready?
Action.
Or
monsters! Monsters!
You.
Roll it.
Oh, that means me.
It's gonna take the unreal mind.
To be honest with you, I like being down there a little more because my head was...
Candy corn monsters, boom!
Hi, I'm Kristen Renton, and I don't know what I'm saying. This one's World Animal News.
Right, here we go. Oh, I'll just... It's not a real wall.
I mean, unless you fake it. I had a contest on night calls, and they were all peeing everywhere. Everyone's like, can I get another Diet Coke? Yeah.
We want to do more.
Hey, what's up? I am Scott.
And I am Ken. We are not the Chemical Brothers, but we are the Crystal Method. And you are watching T Radio V.
Oh, look.
Thank you,
I'm
Jake.
so excited for you about all the stuff that you're doing in
That series, that's my series Mentor, which you can go to jasonstuart.com, Stuart, and you can watch the whole series just by pressing the word mentor on the
And that
homepage.
brings up what we're talking about with new media, because this is a low media. This is what you'd call under $1 million.
You come from working in so many television series. Your last series was West Wing. You were brilliant on it.
I was so lucky to work with Alan Alda, and here I'm doing this political campaign now, and I tell people I have no experience in politics.
Just on TV.
Well, I know, that's it. I've been on the board for the last couple of years, but my only experience in politics was playing Sheila, on the West Wing. I was his, chief of staff, and Lawrence O'Donnell, I was actually playing him because he had been a chief of staff for years in Washington, and he used to say, "You're playing me." And so he'd say, well, this is the way you feel about this, and this is what you think about this, because the chief of staff does this. So my only experience in politics was what Lawrence O'Donnell used to tell me.
So they'll know. You were running for the national president of the Screen Actors Guild AFTRA. You've been on the board for how many years?
I've been on the board just this first foundational period of SAG-AFTRA. In the last couple of years, I was on the national board and local board. And that's my only real experience, thank God, because I think it's good to be new to the. You don't want to have been involved in Membership First or UFS or any of the mess that it was in the period of time 6 or 7 years ago.
People at home don't know about this, but at the Screen Actors Guild AFTRA, there are two different teams.
One is there's actually more in New York. There's a few parties there. And
I didn't know that.
AFTRA, and there's
here in Los Angeles, we have Membership First, and we have United for Strength.
Yeah.
Ken Howard, who's our current president, is running on that slate, and then you on this slate.
And then there's a bunch of independents. Now, it's very important to note that Amy Aquino, who was his secretary-treasurer.
Who I adore.
And I do too. And she was the secretary-treasurer with Ken for the last 6 years while he was the president of SAG and then became the secretary. She is no longer with him. She's running as an independent, which I think is significant.
So I'll just say first, I don't believe in these things, these slates. I don't like them because I like people on both, and I vote
And that's
myself.
important because the room needs to be both people.
I vote myself on people.
Good.
I mean, I voted for Lee Garlington, who's on the other side. I vote for Frances Fisher on this side because she's a friend. These are all my friends and who I believe in. And I'm running for a delegate, and I'm running on this slate. And the reason is because
our slate is what he said.
Is because you called me first, and I'd been called 2 weeks after by the other slate. So if they would have called me first, I would have just went on the one that called me.
You're such a whore.
I mean it because I don't really want to be a part of this. I should have run it as an independent, but I didn't think of it. And I just wanted to be a delegate so I can get in the room and hear what's being said and learn more, because I think I don't know enough really to choose which slate to be on. I just hear things from both sides that some things are disturbing and some things are really great. And I think it's a difficult time. So tell me, why are you running?
Well, I actually started to run because, it's for the same reason that I ran for the board, which was that I was very concerned about really the middle class actor. I was really
which is me,
which is what I used to be, because until I was 40 and did Home Improvement, my ex-husband and I made a really decent living just doing supporting roles in films,
theater,
the series that would go and die, theater. Commercials, under fives, whatever we could get. And you're always just sort of balancing what you can do. And when you're younger and you're starting out, you're maybe going off and doing, regional theater because you're trying to keep an unemployment claim going. So I made money, and I used to say that I did commercials to support my theater habit because theater, didn't pay enough to pay a babysitter, so, but
especially
then,
if it was off Broadway.
You get into,
and you were in Vanities was one of the biggest hits off Broadway.
Yeah, and I did other places, I did other Broadway plays.
But I'm just saying you were in a hit show, could not make a living from it.
Oh gosh, no. And so
people at home don't know that.
Oh no, you're just scrambling all the time.
And even if you do get a series,
I was very proud that from the time I moved to New York until Home Improvement, I never had to take a straight job. I was always working as an actor somehow, somewhere. And the because we made residuals, network residuals, and commercial residuals, and there weren't as many buyouts. The business was different.
But be careful,
you could
because
do
these
that.
are friends, people at home here. They don't know what that means. So
I'll tell you what that means, and the difference between what they were saying, and I'm saying UFS is coming out and saying, we got you network rates and residuals in new media, and that is what people are not understanding.
USF is United for Strength.
Yes, Ken's group. And let me tell you, you got to go to membershipfirst2015.com and look at what they actually got. in new media. Now, it's great that they got you network rates on the really expensive shows like House of Cards, Orange is the New Black, Bosch. You will get a network rate of, like, I think the top is what, it's, well, 900, the basic is 906 a day or something, the top is 3,400 or 3,200. You'll get that for your daily rate. If you're really lucky, you'll get the top. But they're not telling you that you're not getting network
the 900
residuals.
a day is for one day. You can go months without working and just have that $900.
Right, but here's the problem. They're not telling you they didn't get network residuals, and this is the problem straight across the board. The basic cable contract has not, the residual formula on that has still not changed. Basically, in 25 years, Alan Rosenberg got an increase in that 10 years ago, but that hasn't changed. The pay cable, the HBO, Showtime station, those rates haven't changed in 25 years.
Do you think it's possible? Do you think it's possible? Let me get in.
Okay.
Do you think it's possible to do that? Do you think it's possible to get in the room with these people who are not actors? Because we're not fighting with producers. We're fighting with corporations.
With the management, absolutely.
Yeah.
But this is why
possible?
we need a room that's united, and we need a membership that is united and is ready. Is at that tipping point where they're ready to vote behind it.
So
and
you're
be with
saying that
us.
we need to bargain.
And this
harder.
is one of the things that's different about me is that I go to meetings in New York, go to meetings in LA. I like some of these people that are on UFS, that are UFS members, independent members. I'm not going to go in and do what the other side has done, where they wipe out everybody that's on the other side as committee heads. I want to keep some of these people that are committee heads. These are some really good people that are on the other side. I have no interest, and I also am different in that Ken appoints every member of every committee. I don't want to do that. I like Constitution. I have to appoint the committee heads, but I would like each category and each local to pick their own committees because they know what their issues are. And so I would like to do that, and then they can go to the committee head and say, okay, this is what we want, and then we can have committees that are
These are committees, whether
it's
it be
a more democratic
the indie film
approach.
committee, or it would be the gay committee, or the women's
actually,
committee.
so it's a democratic approach basically, and so we can know, okay, this is who you want, this is what you want, blah blah blah. So,
well, how can people find out more about this?
Please go to our website. It has the letter that I wrote the membership that I would have liked to have sent everyone, but we could only afford to send it to the people who voted in the last election in Los Angeles.
Okay.
We just haven't
What's
been
the
able
website?
to afford. It's membershipfirst2015.com.
And they can contact you that way?
They can, well, I don't know if they could. There's the other sites where they can contact us on the Membership First side. That there's a Membership First site where you can actually go on and write. But the Membership First 2015
anybody that needs to get
has more information, but you can't write on it.
Right. Anybody who wants to get a hold of Pat, just go to me, jasonstewart.com, STUART, and I will contact you with her because she's my friend. Thank you so much for being on the show. I so appreciate it.
Thanks.
Everybody, take care, and don't change that channel. Talk to you next week.
You are watching T Radio V, Radio and TV.